I want to talk to you today about the ad hominem fallacy and a mistake that people make with this all of the time. There are those out there that use the ad hominem attack as an appeal to authority to get you to turn off your logic in considering of a debate or a matter at hand. So first of all, what is the definition or the general definition of an ad hominem fallacy? It is when a person, because of a tactic or because maybe they are losing the position, wants to gain an edge or an advantage. And so instead of attacking the argument of the person they are debating with, they begin to attack the person themselves. So person B makes a very strong response, and then person A goes, "Oh, well, you sure look stupid. Yeah, you look really dumb. That sounded ridiculous." And so they begin to attack maybe the looks of the person. Maybe they attack the vernacular of the person. Maybe they attack the education level of the person. Maybe they attack the way the person just said something. But it's all in an attempt, an underhanded attempt to gain the advantage in the argument. But here's what I want you to understand is that everything that looks like an ad hominem attack isn't. So for instance, let's look at the truth for a second. What does life tell us about people in general? And one of the things it tells us is that weak-minded people make weak arguments. Non-intellectual people make non-intellectual arguments. Overly emotional people make overly emotional statements. Uneducated people make uneducated comments as such. And so this is a rule of thumb. This is a majority position. Obviously, you're not going to have 100% accuracy because occasionally, maybe a weak-minded person gives a very strong thought. But how are we going to logically proceed through life? Is it going to be through the majority decision channel? Or are we going to bank everything on these exceptions here and there? So what does life then teach us about this truth? So number one, it is actually very foolish to consider just arguments. Life teaches us that it is very insightful to consider the character and the nature and the history of a person. Consider the boy who cries wolf. There's a little neighbor kid down the street. He runs outside and he goes, "Fire! Fire! My house is on fire! Somebody help! Somebody help!" And the neighbor across the street, if he wanted to constrain his mind to logic only, he might go, "Hey, that kid has a point. If he is telling the truth, and I don't see any reason that he's not telling the truth, maybe I should call the fire department again." Now, if he'd considered the history of this little child, that he does this every Tuesday afternoon, he would not be so apt to call the fire department. What about if you were traveling to a car lot and you needed to find a car by the weekend, and so you run across this car that you have checked the price on Kelley Blue Book, and all of a sudden you found on this lot a car that's half price. And what an amazing deal. And so then you go into the office to talk to the salesman about this because he hasn't come out to greet you. And you find out that he's talking to his girlfriend and they're kind of impassioned and they're talking about things. And then all of a sudden he says, "No, baby, I'm halfway home, or I'm halfway done shopping with the grocery list. I'll be home very, very shortly." Now you've just heard him lie, but are you going to separate that information from the presentation that he tells you that this little old lady didn't really know what she had with this car, and she actually sold it for a quarter of the price so he can now sell it for half price? Are you going to trust that logic? In life, the truth, the majority position would tell you otherwise. What about the abusive boyfriend that has slapped around his girlfriend 16 or 17 times, and the last 3 have been life-threatening? When he shows up at the girlfriend's parents' house to try to reclaim her love and gives this impassioned, logical plea that he's changed his ways and everything is now nice and dandy and he would love her, he would never do that again, he would love her forever, would it be logical then to not consider his character or nature? So we have to admit that when an ad hominem fallacy is true, it is true, but it's not always true that someone that is critiquing the nature of another person or the character of another person is creating or administering the ad hominem fallacy, except in the technical sense. In the technical sense, you can say, yeah, it's an ad hominem fallacy. But that's kind of deceptive to say that. You see, through repeated experiential data of life, we know that politicians and lawyers and con men and snake oil salesmen of TV products, etc., can present very powerful and logical cases of why you need what they have, and you might not be able to refute it logically, and so at that point should you just ingest it without considering their character or nature or history. Point being is, just because someone makes an insightful comment about another person's character doesn't mean it is truly an ad hominem fallacy or that it is illogical to consider these matters.